All right, American Hammers TV is here live with a match preview of the Leicester City match tomorrow. Real quick, I just want to mention, get yourself some of this stuff, man. This stuff is it's premium craft coffee. They're out of Denver, Colorado, and they make regular coffee, decaf coffee, and also coffee like this one with CBD oil in it. It's really good stuff. Link in the description below. Treat yourself to some, right? Today we have a couple special guests. Our first guest, actually, Kevin from the Columbus E13. And we also have John Phillips, you might recognize from JP WHU TV on YouTube as well. So what's happening, guys?
Keeping good, mate. How you doing, Tim?
Having a good Friday.
So let's just get straight into this, man. I was horrible refereeing last match, and the likelihood as a West Ham fan, we would expect that since they played well, although they lost, they played well. Probably one of the best performances I've seen in a while. That means they're probably going to shit the bed this weekend. But what do you guys think? Let's start with you, John.
My biggest worry is midfield. Right, because fortunately, Snodgrass is appealing the one match ban that he's been given for the anti-doping scenario. So he's available for this game. But we've still got Lanzini, he's out. There's talk of Wilshere still being out, Nasri being out. It's all going to be focused really on what I'm hoping is going to be Antonio, Anderson, and Snodgrass in midfield. Yeah. That worries me. We get torn apart by Leicester at the best of times, but I'm hoping that they put the same performance they did against Man United. If we see that again, I think we'll be all right. But it's not looking good. I'm especially not looking good. Looking forward to seeing Vardy.
Yeah. What about you, Kevin?
Well, my concerns are pretty much the same. I mean, midfield is the biggie. Lanzini out, Nasri out. Some of the things I've read, Wilshere, they say, might be back, maybe this week, maybe next week. But from what I understand, if they have to move some players around, they're probably going to leave it up to Anderson to shift to the middle to do the creative part of things and then shift some other players around. But John's right. The midfield is definitely going to be the weakest link of the game. I'm concerned about it, but I don't know. Emotions are running pretty high. They had a great performance last game, even though we should have won, but were robbed by terrible officiating.
What else is new?
I mean, if we can keep up the energy that we had in the game last time, I think that we're going to be a formidable side.
Yeah, well, the difference is that last week we had Chicharito. This week they're saying there's a big, giant possibility that he's not going to play, and they're going to end up starting Arnautovic.
Yeah, they say he has an earache.
Yeah. Well, that shifts the whole dimension of the whole. I mean, they went.
But it's right. It's also at the moment that he's over in Italy, so he hasn't got that much of an earache.
Ooh,
that's how
really.
You guys caught Chats preview. If you guys caught Hammers Chats preview the other night, Gio was saying that he was able to get on a plane. Is over in Italy at the moment. So personally, I think he's thrown a strop. I really think he's thrown a strop by not playing a lot. There's a report that's come out recently as well to say that the club are open to offers for him and he wants to leave in the summer. I know that keeps being repeated every transfer window, but it's just on the same day of him being reported of getting on a private plane and going over to Italy. That holds quite a lot of weight with me now, and I'm really worried about that because if we have that front, I mean, Lee and I agree on this guy 100%. He worries me up front. I don't get me wrong, when he wants to play, he plays fantastically well. I want him to be in that mindset if he's going to be in the starting 11 tomorrow. I really do.
Yeah, and this is the type of game that he would do well. I think Leicester that it's not like watching him against Chelsea. When Arnautovic was out there, he was trying. You could see that he was running around hustling. But against Leicester, I think he could probably do some damage. I mean, I don't think that they have as good a back line as people. I think they're overrated. Is my point. I mean, sure they got Harry Maguire and so on, but and Chilwell and Morgan and stuff like that, but they're really not as threatening as any of these other clubs that he's gone up against recently. So on defense anyway.
Yeah.
So if he gets the service, which he's still got Noble and Rice and Anderson, like you said, Snodgrass. That should be good. And maybe Antonio. We don't know. Nathan Holland will likely be on the bench, which I'm most excited to see him get some minutes. But other than that, I mean, the defense looks like it's going to be the same as it was last match. I don't think Diop's going to get any playing time, but because Balbuena and Ogbonna, they look great against Manchester United. I mean, why would we change that?
There was absolutely no errors from those guys whatsoever. Absolutely nothing. So that side of it's helpful for me. Kev, as you said, there is a chance that Wilshere is going to be in, but Pellegrini said either this week or next week, so it's roughly going to be next week. So for me, as I said, I want Antonio because he played fantastically well when he came on against Man United. Absolutely felt there was something for him. Could have had two if his targeting was a little bit better. The goal off the post, the crossbar, and De Gea's save. That he could be. So he deserves to start.
Nobody else would have saved that. Nobody else.
The reason why De Gea saved it which is a big bugbear of mine, is that Antonio headed the ball down, so it had a bounce instead of rifling it to the back of the net. If he'd have smashed it straight in, that would have been a goal, and we would have had a completely different game.
I'm just hoping he has time to get his braids in before tomorrow. Did you see that Instagram post from today?
I did.
Wow,
that was horrible.
Adrian called him on his Instagram account. He called him my Jamaican Krusty. It was brilliant.
Oh man, I love it. Oh, those guys. Oh Jesus. But so what do you think, Fredericks or Zabaleta?
Kev, you take this one.
Yeah, Kevin.
Okay, that's on the spot. I love Zabaleta. I think he's tough as nails, and you can talk about how old he is, but I do not think that the man has lost a step. At the same time, I think Fredericks sometimes plays with the vim and vigor that we want out of a West Ham player. So I can't remember what game it was, but he took down a player, a tackle, really hard, like 2 or 3 games ago, and I was just like, wow, did anybody see that tackle? I was just like, that's the way we want guys to play. I mean, you want to have a certain amount of fear when you come up against one of those guys. But truth is, if I have to take one or the other, I think I go with Zaba. That's where I'm at.
John?
Cool. Yeah. I like Fredericks. He reminds me very much of the raw deal that Antonio was when he first came through. After we bought him 3 years, I think it was 3 years ago now. But Kev, I agree 100% with you. Zabaleta has that more defensive mindset. He knows what more needs to be done on the pitch. But at the same point, Fredericks is trying. We love to see players that give their all. And let's be fair to the bloke. He's never played in the Premier League before now, so he's still learning the differences between the Championship and the Premier League. And obviously, Zabaleta's got the gold watch from his Premier League appearances. So, sure. But yeah, for me, I would rather have somebody like Zabaleta against Leicester than Fredericks, because Fredericks is going to give us too much at the back, too much open space.
Yeah, I would prefer Zabaleta mainly because Fredericks, you can't teach fundamentals at his age, and one thing Fredericks lacks is basic fundamentals. If you watch him for more than 3 minutes at a time during the match, you'll see, he gave it away again. Oh, look at that pass! Look, he headed it in the air to somebody. Oh, it's the other team. It's consistent. That's the one thing that he's consistent about besides his pace. which I love his pace. I love his attitude. I love his, his defensive pressure because he's so quick. But he's a liability on offense completely. He can't fucking string a pass together. It really aggravates me because someone at that age, I mean, yeah, he's young, but you really can't teach him that. And I don't think that's what West Ham is trying to do, is teach him that right now. You know what I mean? But they should. So that said, I would prefer someone more fundamentally sound, like a Zabaleta. And yeah, he's not nearly as quick, and he does get burned sometimes. But for the most part, Zabaleta is just a much stronger defender.
But this is the catch-22 of it, though. Do we nurse him in, or do we just let him sit on the bench and learn from somebody else? Fredericks is very similar to Masuaku in that exact. I reckon Fredericks is more of a wing back rather than an actual right back. But as I say, he needs, like, you're absolutely right, he needs to have the time to learn that position. But at the same point, do we give him those run-outs for the remaining games of the season? Because let's face it, we're not going to get relegated. There's no way in hell we're going to get up into 7th place. It's not going to happen. So we might as well just have him out for the rest of the season, learn the train over the next 4 games, and hope for the best. Yeah. Or do we have somebody that's Zabaleta that has all the ability to do it? His mind is younger than his legs, sadly, and therefore we have a more solid back. That's what I'm saying. It's the catch-22.
Yeah, I mean, I'd let him finish this season. But the absolute winnable matches, I mean, the ones that we need to get points from for whatever reason, I would definitely have Zabaleta in there. But for the other matches like Tottenham or someone like that, I'd put Fredericks in that match, especially against Tottenham, to absorb that pressure of that London derby at that new stadium and that environment, and try to test him out. Because basically, from what I've seen this season, other than his speed and other than his want to be here, I'd sell him personally. I mean, he's not, in my mind, like something as valuable as what we had thought he would be, especially if he can't fucking pass. That's one of the key components of football, is passing the ball and not giving the ball away, and which he tends to do more often than he tackles.
Exactly. So, I can say that's why I compare him to Masuaku, because it's exactly the same way. We don't trust him with the ball, yet can put in a performance like he did for 90 minutes against Man United when the situation's right. So it's a toss-up. It really is.
Yeah. So on the other side, we got, I guess, Masuaku is looking like he's going to get his another second start in a row. So what do you guys think about that? Should Pellegrini put Cresswell back in there, or what are your thoughts?
I think it all depends on which Masuaku shows up.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing with Arnie and pretty much everybody else in the team, though.
Yeah, I'm sitting there with my guys this past Saturday, and Masuaku was putting in a shift, and we were just like, wow, who is this guy? And I'm like, it's the guy we saw against Southampton last year. That's who it is. It was like the last time we really saw him put in a stellar performance, and that was it. But we know it's in there. I don't really know what motivates the guy. Maybe it's starting. Maybe it's us being in dire need of his best skill set. I don't know. But he's got it in there. He's got it in him. So I'm all about putting the guy on the field from jump, especially if he's going to field crosses to Arnautovic like he did against Southampton last year. So Arnie needs it. Arthur needs it. We need it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point. You're right. I mean, because Arthur showed exactly what he was capable of, and the reason why we signed him to begin with. I mean, that's not his first performance like that this season either. He did put in one other good performance. I forgot who it was against. I've seen at least one other really solid, like Masuaku, performance. But again, it's not enough, unfortunately. But I mean, if he were to do that consistently, just like anybody else in the club, I mean, I'd be more than happy to keep him and not sell him in the summer. I don't know, John.
For me, personally, I would like to see Ben Johnson back for this. I really, really would. Again, just to blood him in, just get him a bit more. I would. Okay, he had a fantastic game against Man City. He's been one of the players that everyone's been talking about from the under-21s point of view for quite a while now. And as a result of that, I personally, with Cresswell having his knee, so he's not going to be 100%. I know he's back in training, but he's not going to be 100%. Masuaku is more than likely going to start. Like we said, we know we're going to have the same back four and the same, obviously, same goalkeeper. But I would rather have Johnson in the squad if he's not in the starting 11 than Creswell, just purely because he just has more thought behind him than Masuaku does. Creswell's never been the same since that injury that he picked up in pre-season a few seasons back. He's never had that same level of guile. He tried it, and we've seen it a few times this season. But ever since the last season at the Bowling and the season before that, when he was out for quite a while, he's not really made that many tackles in the last few seasons, bar the last few games before he picked up he had that concussion and the knee injury pretty much in the same game.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, but you never know. But yeah, we're definitely going to see the back four. But for me personally, I would rather have somebody more like Ben Johnson who wants to prove himself. So we've got good competition for that coming up to the summer transfer window.
Now, here's another thing. So thinking back to last week's match, looking at Ogbonna playing so well, do you think that has anything to do with Balbuena and the confidence of knowing Balbuena's next to you instead of a young kid like Diop?
100%. 100%. The reason being is when Ogbonna and Diop are together, Diop doesn't trust him. He would rather. I've seen Diop rather pass back to Fabianski than give him the ball. Whereas with Balbuena, he's more. Both of them trust each other more. I never thought I'd say that because Ogbonna's been a real pain in my ass this season. He really has. But fair play to the bloke. Look, season before last, what a lot of people seem to forget, that he was suffering with, I think it was a back hernia, if I remember correctly, and played through it until this time 2 years ago.
That's right.
Under David Moyes. So people seem to forget that he tries 100%. And because of that, I don't like to criticise him because, again, if you don't have to be a good player, but as long as you're putting in the commitment, like Ian Dow used to for us, he wasn't brilliant, but he was very close to getting man of the match. Hammer of the Year a couple of seasons before we sold him, because he was putting in so much effort, so much time and wanting to play well that everybody loved him. And that's the same reason with Ogbonna, same reason why we love Masuaku so much, but even though he's irritating people.
Yeah, so this will definitely be a telling match then, because you have they're an attacking team. I mean, they really are, Leicester City, and this is definitely going to test Balbuena and Ogbonna, that partnership, really, unless they only go along the wings, but this should definitely be a good test for that.
Ogbonna has been showing me personally like kind of a lot. When Balbuena went down, I didn't have any confidence in the guy whatsoever. He seemed so on and off, but then 2 games in, all of a sudden he was really he was stepping up to the plate. And who was it? He got in somebody's face on during the Man United game. Who was the second guy? Lingard.
Jesse Lingard. Yeah.
He was very lucky not to be for that.
I know. His finger was on his face. That was awesome. I loved it, though.
He went to headbutt him twice. Very lucky.
It clearly wouldn't have been a pen anyway, but of course you had to be a lip reader to figure out what he was saying, but it sure seemed like he was like, I know what you're doing down there. Don't try that shit around here. And it was just funny because Lingard's 4'2", and Ogbonna looked like a giant next to him. I think I would have bought tickets for that boxing match.
Yeah.
One thing we all remember of this game as well is Leicester have only got one injury.
Oh, wow.
That's it. And we've including the news that Pellegrini dropped yesterday, that, as I say, Nasri's still out, Lanzini's out. We've got 10, 11 players, pretty much almost an entire squad's worth of first team players out for this game.
Yeah, who was it say? I can't remember what. I watched so many West Ham shows and match previews. I can't remember if it was Irons United or it was you or it was Hammers Chat or West Ham Fan TV. But Jesus, I listed them all and I forgot my train of thought. Right? Oh no, someone was saying that our I mean, sorry, our bench is stronger than their bench. I mean, you guys agree with that? You agree with that, Kevin?
How can it be with so many people injured? How can it be?
Simpson, Morgan, Mendy, Iniacho, or Iniacho, whatever the kid's name is, Yakupovic, Ward, but Okazaki. I mean, you're telling me that our bench is stronger than their bench? I haven't even listed all of them. That's their bench, by the way.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough.
Iheanacho was this meant to be this massive, brilliantly next generation City striker, and he's playing at Leicester. Let's remember about that. He's a good player, but yes, you're right. I mean, but we've still got players that we can call on, which can match them point for point. The only problem is the fact that in the attacking third, that's the area where we really struggle. Because let's face it, who have we got on the bench?
Well, I'm talking, mainly because they don't have as many injuries as us. Because if you're looking at us, it's youth. We got Trott, Johnson, Adrian. We'd never play. Masulaki. Well, actually, no, Masulaki was actually playing. But anyway, Obiang, Coventry, Wilshire, who's probably not going to play. Dingana, Perez, Holland, Silva's, Fredericks, and Diop. I mean, you're telling me. I don't know. This is the one thing I kind of somewhat disagree with everybody in. I think that our bench is depleted. I mean, we've got some youth that we haven't even seen yet that could potentially be fantastic. But as it stands right now, I think I don't know, man. Their bench looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, but this is the problem. We have the more experienced players on the bench, like for example, Diop. All right, he's not very experienced when it comes to the Premier League, but let's not forget that he was captain of his previous side for the last 2 seasons before we bought him. He's played in the France national team as well a few times. But Nathan Holland is one that Tim, you and I are absolutely itching to see. Yep. Ben, I can't wait to see again. De Silva, I've said on many occasions that we need to play him if we haven't got anybody fit enough up front, including if Arnautovic is available. So I can see whoever has said it is going with it, but at the same point, that's only when everybody's fit. We have certain players that can outdo Leicester. I mean, Okazaki is an impact sub, massive an impact sub for Leicester. But yeah, we don't have as much depth as we used to, but we've still got a lot more depth on the bench than we did a season or two ago.
Now our injury list is stronger than their bench. I will say that.
I would agree.
Oh God! So, what is it here? We pretty much get the same amount of yellow cards, same amount of red cards as them. Roughly give or take 1 or 2. Their form has been tremendous. But even though they played well against Newcastle, and they were unlucky to lose that, and they only lost 1-0. But before that, they had won 4 straight. And of course, it was against the bottom clubs. But no, I mean they have that form going, in the performance level going for them. So it's going to be a little tricky because we just got Man U. That's all we got going for us right now. That performance.
And the second half of Chelsea, don't forget, that was a lot better. Once those substitutions were made, we played a lot better.
True. I forgot about that. So I was so pissed off that we were losing. I forgot about the performance. Actually, as a matter of fact, I went down to Boston for that match, and I had a piss, and I went to the bathroom, and all of a sudden, Chelsea was up 2-0, and awesome. So let's see here. What's more? What hurts more? The Chelsea match, where we did perform well, and literally you had what looked like every single player on the pitch told to stay on their feet, do not close down, don't do anything, and allow Eden Hazard to score goals, or the fact that we lost by 2 penalty goals that shouldn't have happened.
I think the Man United game hurts more.
Yeah.
I disagree.
I think so.
Not to be controversial, but I disagree because when we were speaking after the game, I said that this was the happiest I've been for a while of a defeat. Chelsea wasn't Chelsea. It was West Ham versus Hazard. Let's be clear on this. Chelsea didn't really do anything else apart from give Hazard the ball at every opportunity they could. So from that point of view, the Chelsea game hurts me more because we should have closed them down better. There should have been more. Frederick should have tried to tackle him a bit earlier than he tried. And for the second goal was because we gave them space, or more specifically, Creswell got out of position. Anderson tried to run back to try and close them down as much as possible, but on the 90th minute, literally on the 90 and a half minutes, we concede a second. That's what hurts the most. That for me, that's what hurts because it's base again, as it always is with West Ham. It's the basic errors that hurt the most, rather than going out playing attractive football and losing.
I remember that first half performance. I thought we were doing well moving the ball around, and even Arnie was running around. Arnie, Chicharito was doing. He started that game, right? Arnie came in the bench.
Arnie came on in the second half.
Yeah, second half. So the second half I'm thinking of was just fantastic. But for the first half, when Chicharito was in there, he wasn't a goal threat, but his movement. I mean, he was setting up. Everybody else. It was actually pretty shocking. And I thought our performance until we gave up that goal, which made no sense. When you see Declan Rice chasing after Hazard and then stopping, yelling at Noble, who just stops, and then a line of defense of four guys that just stand like they're going to take a free kick. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life. But no, that definitely hurt because here's the other thing. Chelsea did not put out their best team. Their best players came on as subs, besides Hazard, obviously. Pedro, I thought, Pedro, I was saying before the match, was going to be besides Hazard, was going to be the biggest threat because he doesn't match up. I mean, we don't match up well against Pedro. He fucking always finds his way through, and he's a big pain in the arse. But yeah.
My biggest reason for saying that I thought that the Man United match was a little bit more painful was mostly because from the controversy standpoint of the terrible officiating.
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
The first half of the Chelsea game, we didn't deserve to win anything. The second half felt like all of a sudden we woke up, we were playing a much better game, and we just could not contain Hazard. This last game, oh my goodness. I mean, I don't think I've seen them play better this year, and then we end up losing on 2 penalty kicks. Not that I don't think that we should not be playing aggressively enough to be able to put you don't want to put a guy down in the box, but at the same time, you want to make him think about it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain amount of respect that I have for that. I wish we hadn't lost by 2 penalty kicks, but I thought we played super great. We deserved to win, and I'm just really unhappy that we didn't. That's all.
Yeah. Bearing in mind, obviously, we had 2 offside decisions, one given correctly and one just not even noticed. Anderson could have had 2. Anderson should have had 2 in that game. And also, as I say, Antonio should have had 2 as well. We could have easily walked past that. Taking those 20 seconds out of the game, it was just I agree, Kev, 100%. It was one of the best performances, if not the best, with the exception of possibly for me, the way we dealt with Macclesfield in the League Cup. But in terms of the league itself, that was I'd say that was definitely up in the top 3 of the performances of the season. I'd say probably for me, my most favourite was Arsenal away. That was when the system was starting to work. We were 1-0 up, we lost it 3-1. But we put a very, very good shift in, but the basics let us down.
Yeah, and the thing that kills is that there was so many. It wasn't just the offside. It was the fact that if that offside goal, if Anderson's goal actually counted, we would have been 1-0 up. and then that would have changed the game. So even though it didn't go through, let's set that aside. Fucking Pogba kicks Snodgrass pretty much in the head. I mean, he could have. I mean, even if he doesn't, I thought it doesn't matter if you make contact or not. Is if your fucking foot, your studs are up near someone's face, that's a red card, no?
It should be.
It should be. So yeah. So if that ended up happening, forget the offside goal that we could have got. I mean, if that ended up happening, now we're going against 10 men. That would have completely changed the game. That one, everybody. Not enough people talk about that as much as they were, the offsides and all the other bullshit that happened there. But anyway, yeah, nothing hurts more than losing just penalty kicks, but that doesn't really show the opponent's talent. That just shows that they can kick a fucking penalty kick, which probably you put three of us up there, and at least one of us is going to score a fucking penalty kick, right?
Sure.
Well, remember we lost exactly the same way. We lost exactly the same way to City. They had no shots. They had no shots at goal, apart from that we conceded as well. So we've gone away to both Manchester clubs, and they've not scored from open play this season. Nobody would have predicted season.
And it really is against the big clubs that we get fucked. I mean, if you think about it, Liverpool too. Yeah, I mean, I'm starting. I'm not going to say I'm starting to believe these conspiracy theories, but because he's kind of out there when it comes out of that. But yeah,
that's what it's like being a West Ham fan, though, Tim. You know that. They play the best against the big clubs. They play unbelievably bad against bottom sides, and then their best performances are usually met with a loss. It's unbelievable. Yes. I mean, like I told you about in the first episode I was on. I've been a fan since '97. Followed them as well as I could before they were all over NBC Sports, and it's always been the same thing. You know what I mean? It's why it's I grew up in Cleveland, and being a Cleveland Browns fan, same thing. You know what I mean? Hard-working team, very, very talented, can't pull off the wins. But that kind of like loyalty streak hits you, and nobody is more solid fan than a West Ham fan. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, and John, I mean, just from your experiences too, like you've been through a whole bunch of bullshit with the club. Really, I mean, I've really only solidly been a religious fan since since the 09 season. But I've always had I felt for West Ham, but I didn't become a religious West Ham fan until like 08. So you and Kevin are much longer than me, man. I drink coffee, I smoke cigarettes like a chimney. I'm freaking stressed out all the time. I'm always thinking, West Ham. I'm like, oh shit, they fucked up this or that. They got robbed, or one thing or another. It's just, when can they get it right? Will they ever get it right?
Well, you see, the problem is, is I kind of feel that my DNA is a jinx to the club, right? Because I wasn't able to. But bear with me on this, Kev. You'll see why in a minute.
Okay.
The day was when we played Arsenal in the FA Cup final in 1980 with Trevor Brooking's header. Right. That was literally the day I was being born into a West Ham family.
Oh boy.
So. Exactly. That's why I kind of think, well, that's pretty much why we've done bugger all since then, because I'm kind of like, well, we've had the moment in the sun now. I'm born. That's it. Game over. But we came close in 85, 86. We lost to a couple of teams that we should have won against, and therefore we would have won what was then the League One title. We were literally 4 points away from doing it at one stage.
Right.
So. It's hard to put put the finger on it. A lot of people saying the club's jinxed. A lot of people say that the club's got a curse on it, but there's no other way of explaining it. We have different managers, we have different players, we still have the same problem. The only thing is, the only players that we seem to have that don't get injuries are the academy players. How often has Mark Noble been injured? How often before we sold them was Rio Ferdinand and his brother injured, Joe Cole, etc., etc. Frank Lampard Jr. You know, how often did he get injured? Not many. Yeah, and that's the problem. I personally think that's the problem, is because we're playing back in the so-called glory days of West Ham in the early to late 80s. There was only a handful of foreign players in there. Everybody else was pretty much homegrown, which is why the football was better. But ever since, not just under the two Davids, but and even the guys before the Icelandics, you know, it was just we've focused on cheap players because they're injury prone, and therefore we have 7 to 12 players out pretty much for the majority of the season. That's the real curse. We need to be able to find somebody that can go 36, 37 games a season. We do that, we'll have a lot better football.
Well, isn't it true that Declan Rice is one of the only players that hasn't been injured this season?
Neither agreed, and neither is Noble. Rice came very.
I think Noble was hurt for one game this year, but yeah, you're right. By and large, I mean, the guy's 30+ years old, 33. Is he 33 now? 32?
It's about that, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. And he doesn't get hurt either.
One of the things I love about Noble was when we were down in the Championship under Allardyce. Right, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but he had his appendix out. I think it was around about the February time of that season. He came back within a week.
That's crazy.
I didn't know that.
I think I heard that. But I didn't. Wow, that's crazy. So, but on that note, you know, the most exciting times in our West Ham history would be the years in Championship, no? Because they usually
most successful. That's for sure.
The most exactly. You know. I'll never forget, man. My most favorite match is definitely the Blackpool match at the Wembley. You know that I remember having my laptop on top of my dresser because I was getting shitty Wi-Fi, and I found some streaming from like Saudi Arabia where there's all these million pop-ups I had to keep clicking off just to watch the damn game. But my God, that game was just the most thrilling thing in the world. You know,
right?
My recent history, anyway, with West Ham.
Being there. Christ, no. Me and my mate, I got a football with. We still talk about it now. In fact, we were talking about it a couple of days ago. That game, we should have lost that game. We weren't all over Blackpool as much as it appeared. If Azte hadn't scored that brilliant goal right at the end, that would have gone to extra time and penalties. It was that close.
No, agreed. You know, the playoff matches leading up to that were very exciting, though. But yeah, that match in particular, I remember being extremely stressed out, not just because of the stream issues I was having, but the game was very stressful. Carlton Cole scored the opening goal, right?
Yeah. Azte scored the winner. Cole scored the first, and then right at the death. But you're talking about playoffs. We basically, when I first started properly following them, was in the season, Pardew's first season, and when we went to the playoff final and lost to Palace, and that was one of the funniest moments I remember, because I was watching it on Sky at the time, and the guy that was interviewing Pardew went into the manager's room. And he said to Pardew, he said, "That's an interesting door." And Pardew turned around to him and looked at him and said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I was expecting to see a revolving door, not a normal door." But you think about it, the amount of managers that we had when we were down, after the debacle with Glenn Roeder, then we had, and then with Pardew finally getting us back up at the second attempt. We went through a string of managers, and then all of a sudden it stopped again until Kerbishley, and then Zola, and then, do you know what I mean? It's just, that's the problem. I legitimately think the problem is the fact that we start signing players that aren't injury prone, we will see a lot better football. And
some of that has to do with the fabric of where the players are coming from. Obviously, I totally agree with you about the academy factor of the players, but it just seems like sometimes we get these players in that are super duper talented, but I don't really know about the foreigner factor or not, but they seem like they have all the talent in the world, but they have like the worst glass jaws you can possibly imagine. So yeah, I'm all about the youth, and it kind of seems like Pellegrini is leaning that way. He definitely, I mean, he's brought up guys and started in first team games this year that I'd never even heard of before.
Yeah.
So I was pretty impressed with that. You didn't see David Moyes pulling.
No, not at all. Not at all. And even I mean, Bilic did a few, but probably I'd say just as many as Moyes. But no, listen, the good thing is that the academy is developing better. It looks like they're really giving a shit about it now. Over the recent years, I asked Jack Collison like every day, like about how the academy's going, because he's involved there now, and look, they've been bringing more ambassadors in to help out the kids and kind of motivate the kids as well, like Carlton Cole and so on, and seeing Marlon Harewood down there from time to time. But no, it looks like they really got something going on, and what the deal is that there's probably about, usually there used to be like 2 or 3 guys would hear the names of, and they may or may not get a cup match or whatnot, and that's about it. But now it's like 5 or 6 names that are, they keep revolving, you keep hearing. And and they were like, okay, well, no, this is good. Now we got a decent core of kids down there, and also on loan too, by the way. Like Marcus Brown, God damn, I would love to see him, get a shot next season too. That are really, they're actually developing, and the ones that they kept in the academy and didn't send out on loan, like Coventry and Kemp and obviously the Johnson and Holland and so on. Yeah, I mean, they're legitimately going to be something. But here's the deal: is I'm scared about, like what you were saying, Kevin, that some of these kids, they look like this.
Yeah.
This is my pinky finger. Right. Like they look like they need to eat a cheeseburger or something like that from time to time. They look a little too thin. No, seriously, because this is a physical league. I mean, sending them on to League 1 or League 2. I mean, that's some dirty physical leagues if you're going to send them alone too. And you're talking, these guys are going to get roughed up and snap in half, and then there you go. We have injuries again, and before they can really develop, and then they'll have an injury early on, and then what? They'll never be the same again. So that has happened with a couple of people in the past. Like the 12-13 and 13-14 season. There was a few injuries down there at the bottom of these names that we're hearing, and then all of a sudden we stopped hearing the names. So I can't remember the names, but I can see the faces. But anyway, so yeah, it looks like that it's definitely developing. It looks like we're going to start seeing more and more. There's a rumor going around that Pellegrini's going to be bringing in more of his people next season in the academy, and there might be like a cleanup of the academy staff to make it more catered to him. So if that is true, then that means that he is planning on, and the board is allowing him to, plan on him being, staying longer than just, a couple seasons.
Good, because at the end of the day, he's got a golden ticket. And that's what we need. We need a manager that has that ability. Now, the good thing about the only thing that I'm worried about that is the fact that, this season, like you're saying, like your favourite bobblehead and Jack Collinson came through, we haven't had a season where we've had potentially 3 or 4 players come through from the academy in one season. We've had Dean Garner break through this season, Ben Johnson making an appearance, Nathan Holland hasn't made an appearance yet, but he featured very, very heavily in pre-season. Mm-hmm. Marcus Brown, again, as you're mentioning as well. I can't remember, with the exception of maybe 9-10 years ago, where we've had that amount of academy players coming through. It's good what they're doing. It's brilliant what they're doing for Chadwell Heath Rush Green, I should say. With the amount, was it the £4 million upgrade that they officially announced the other week, and like you're saying, that rumor has been going around for a good few weeks now that Pellegrini's younger coaching staff are going to be coming in, because again, it does prove that there's a longevity, there's a proper plan here, rather than when Moyes came up and was given us roughly the same instruction that Allardyce was given when we went down to the Championship. It's just to get us back into the Premier League and keep us there as much as you can. And that's exactly what Moyes has done, and that's what they tried to do with Bilic as well. But unfortunately for Bilic's last season, that didn't really work out. Again, because of player unrest. But this time round, we've got a manager that is really, really gung-ho with players, doesn't take any crap, is not afraid to drop people when they're taking the piss. He's playing players that he doesn't want to. It's quite clear at the moment because we've got no other option because of the injuries. But I still maintain that Pellegrini is a short-term plan because he's not got long before he's going to retire. But at the same point, knowing what's been going on this season and the plans that are floating around is making me think, well, maybe this is a medium-term plan now to get some proper stability, sort stuff out, make sure the players aren't as injured as they're continuing to be. Going from Chadwell Heath to Russ Green's made no difference on that side. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting too because Cullen and Brown and Fernandez are all had amazing loan spells, which we rarely see that, unless it's League Two or conference or whatever. So I understand that Marcus Brown, he's playing in League One for Oxford, but that's still a very competitive league. Now think about it; they're one step from championship, which is like the most competitive league probably around, really. And then you have Josh Cullen playing for Charlton. He's been doing fantastic, and that is a really tough league. Plays a lot of matches. Yeah.
League One is more physical than the Championship. The Championship is, like you say, is that blend between the Premier League and decent football. But League One is the one where everyone tries to hack you down as much as possible. You do well in that, you go up to the Championship, and then jump up to the Premier League. But Marcus Brown's in his mid-20s now, from a footballing point of view, he's not got long left. That's the problem.
No, I know, but I would love to see him, in say a rotation or in a bench or at least on a roster, training with the guys next season, to maybe make some appearances off the bench or definitely cup matches for sure, because it would be nice to see next year if we actually tried in the cups, right? Like actually give a shit about the cups next season. Now that Pellegrini's already had a year under his belt. The worst was Allardyce though when it came down to cups, man. He didn't give a fuck about anything except his pockets. Anyway, Fat Sam.
That Cullen is tough as nails, though, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah. I follow him. I try to see, watch as much, video I can, which there isn't really that much in Charlton this season, but there's been a couple highlight videos floating around out there of his work this season, and now he looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's with just talking about what you're saying about Allardyce quickly. Bearing in mind, we got to the League Cup semi-final, albeit he put the kids out because everybody was asking for the kids at that point. I'm not a Allardyce man in any shape or form. I'm really not. I was one of the ones that booed when we lost. So when we beat Hull 1-0 when they were down to 10 men and he cut his ear to the crowd, I was one of them. But it's, Allardyce is a good manager in terms of making the club stable, sorting the defence out. It's exceptionally boring football. It's some of the most ridiculous, even the stuff down in the championship, even the stuff in the Championship when we beat Brighton 6-1. Was it 6 years ago last week?
Yeah.
That was still. I know the highlights make it look like it was a walkover, and from a goal line point of view, it was. But there were some times when Brighton were pretty difficult to deal with, and we just sat back against them. Even when we were like 2 or 3-1 up, it was just like we still sat back against them.
I loved Allardyce, but enough was enough. There was a certain point. Listen, he played the big teams knowing that we were going to fucking lose. And I hate that attitude. Like, you should, if you're a manager or whatever, you should always try to win the game, right? Like, every single thing that you try to do, you should try to win. You shouldn't be going out there to play it safe. No, I'll be happy with the, a 0-0 draw. And I don't like that attitude, personally. I'm not all West Ham fans are the same. They would be happy drawing instead of losing to a Man United rather than trying to go for the kill. but no, he was phenomenal. I loved the team's toughness. Like the teams hated coming or playing West Ham because they knew they were rough, they were tough. And there was one game I remember. I think it was the first year in the Premier League with Allardyce. There was a game where we had like 9 yellow cards. We got fined like a shit ton of money because pretty much almost everybody on the roster got a yellow card. That was how physical we were back then, and I missed that. The defense was phenomenal, really. But yeah, we had just fucking no talent though when it came down to offense. It was just keep it up.
And then the season after, the ironic thing is the season after that we got into the Europa League for being the least carded team in the season. It was
I know, it's crazy. I don't understand. But I still feel that even in his last few seasons, we were still, God. I mean, maybe we're just more sneaky. I don't know, or sly. But no, we were consistently physical under his tenure.
Yeah, with Bilic did his best to continue that on, but at the same point, his attitude at the start of the season.
Come on.
We've been waiting quite a while to talk to you about this. Bilic's attitude at the start of his campaign was to win games. He put out teams to win games, and that's why we beat Man City away. It's why we beat Arsenal away. It's why we beat Liverpool for the first time in 52 years, because he put teams out to win. And then all of a sudden, when we started losing, his tactics were changed halfway through the first season, beginning of the second season to, let's not win, let's not lose this, let's just try and go out and play, but just don't lose it. And that's where people started turning on him, and Tim, yourself included, I'm sure. But there's always 2 points of view. Bearing in mind, obviously, what you guys are watching on the telly isn't always the same thing that we see at the. Sometimes we can be playing very well on live, come back and see the extended highlights or watch a replay of the game, thinking actually we're looking pretty shit. It's that little difference of it. But Bilic for me wasn't as bad as he was at the start. But this is the problem with human nature. We remember the losses, we don't remember the wins all that much.
Well, before we head into the predictions and stuff like that for this upcoming match, Kevin, what do you think about, because we're talking about defense and Allardyce and Bilic, what do you think about Pellegrini's defensive mentality, or is he just all attack? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think we've got some strong players at the back. Now, obviously, he plays an attacking style of football. The truth is, I'm so much more happy to see it. Last year, to be honest with you, when Moyes came in, it felt like Bilic's days were just over because he kind of took on a defeatist attitude after the whole Payet drama, and then he was just. I don't really think he could ever get his faculties back after he just couldn't recover from that. So Moyes came in and basically parked the bus. You know what I mean? And truth is, I thought Moyes did a pretty damn good job. Yeah. And but with Pellegrini, obviously this is much more exciting, especially much more exciting to watch on television, no doubt about it. But sometimes our extremely talented back line just looks like Swiss cheese, like when Hazard went right through them like they were standing still. But then other times they're like back there like hooking and crooking, like impenetrable. I think that Balbuena being back is a huge plus for the team. I think that Obana stepped up big time during his absence. I'm pretty sure that both of them are probably going to start in the back line this week. I read something about how they're going to have to shift players around, and they both might be back there. But when Balbuena and Diop are back there together, it seems like nobody can really do anything. As far as his defensive mentality, I mean, I don't know. He's an attacking coach. I think what he kind of does is he puts the best players that he can back there, of which he does have good players back there, and then he lets them do what they do. But I think that. I mean, I could be completely off base, but it feels more like his strategic mind is more in the middle and the front end of things.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, we went from having a manager that got us into Europe with a plus goal difference, which never ever happened before then for a long time, to a manager that absolutely folded, like you're saying, with Moyes did perfectly well as an interim manager. Again, as I said, was brought in to make sure we stayed up. You know, and then Pellegrini is all about the free-flowing attacking football, but he doesn't seem to be taking into consideration what needs to be done defensively. He started doing that now over the last few games, but you know, because our marking for corners, for example, is a lot better than it was at the start of the season.
Sure.
A lot better. It's not brilliant, and like you say, we're still Swiss cheese and Chelsea, and oh god, 20 other games this season you can prove about how bad the defence has been. But at the same point, for a manager who wants to attack the ball all the time, we're not scoring enough goals under him because
and that's the thing. So, exactly, and we've been begging for an attack-minded coach for quite a few years now, right? I mean, we were someone who played attractive football too, not just like Allardyce, you know. So here we have it. But again, like you said, and I think it really does have a lot to do with injuries. I think is why we haven't scored enough goals, because you can tell just by watching when he has almost the right players out there, because he hasn't 100% had his best 11 out there really any fucking game that I can remember this season. But you know, you can see what he's trying to do, and you can see that if we had, you know, Yarmolenko out there, would definitely make a huge difference, and we would be banging in 4 goals game. Yeah, exactly, massively. And because, like I've said before with some previous episodes, there's a class differential, you know, in players, and when you have a Yarmolenko and you have a Felipe Anderson and you have a Lanzini and you have a Nasri, who are used to playing at a super high, fast-paced level with smooth passes and so on, and then you have the hard-working lumpers like Snodgrass and Noble and so on. Obiang is just somewhere in there that fucking mix. I don't even know where to consider him, but he does tend to bring people down a lot too. But anyway, there's a class difference, so we need more of those people. You know, those Yarmolenkos and Andersons, and then you can tell. You can even tell just by those players alone. Like, that's what Pellegrini was going for. He brought those guys in, and that's the type of players that can do his style of football, not the guys that were already here. Right. You know, not an Antonio. Antonio, I love the depth. He's a hustler. He's super fast and so on, and he does score a few goals, but he's super sloppy. He really is. You know, he reminds me a lot of Fredericks when it comes down to that. I mean, they're both equally, like, fundamentally, I don't know, sound at all. But anyway, so yeah, I think that we just need a few more of Pellegrini signings, and you'll start seeing the proper football that we've been dying for, really. But again, they have to stay healthy and whatnot. That said, we gotta wrap this up. So let's start predictions for this weekend. John, what's your prediction for this weekend?
I think we'll play a lot better. I think we'll play some good football. We've got a very, very talented setup in there. I still think we're gonna buckle. We're gonna have problems with handling Vardy. We're gonna have problems getting past their goalkeeper, especially Schmeichel. He's not been brilliant this season. I've seen some stuff that he's made some howlers, but everybody does. For me, I think we'll probably draw this, or we'll lose in the last couple of minutes. Possibly, like, we'll either it'll be a 1-1 or a 2-1 loss. I can't see us scoring more than 1. But every time I say we lose, we win. Every time I say we win, we lose. It's just that's West Ham all over. You really can't predict it. Leicester have always been a very, very difficult team to play against at the London Stadium. Jamie Vardy loves winding the fans up when he scores, and that, especially, he did that last season. So it's going to be a tricky one to call, but I honestly think we're going to lose. My instincts are saying this is a loss today, or tomorrow, I should say.
Yep.
So for the record, you said a loss. You said a 1-0 loss.
Either a 1-0 or we'll lose it 2-1.
All right. Well, because you said that, I'm going to go ahead and say that we're going to win 2-1. Especially because when you say that, with the karma that follows you around when you pick them to win. So I'm going to go with that. But truth is, I think that I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to when the lineup comes out on Saturday morning here. And I was kind of excited about the prospect of having Anderson move to the middle if that happens. I think that could open up some pretty wild things. So, I mean, I'm looking at a 2-1 win.
All right, since you said 2-1, I guess I have to say 3-1 because I don't like making the same predictions. Because basically, here's my thought. Arnautovic, I've been saying this for weeks now. I don't want him in. I'd rather just send him off to China. He wants to go. See you later. Bye. Don't even let him come into the clubhouse. Just keep him away. But if he's gonna start, hold on. But if he's gonna start, which looks like he's gonna do, then he's due for a brace. I mean, I've been saying this. So he's that type of guy that'll go put out a couple piss poor performances because he's got a piss poor attitude, and then everybody get mad at him, and then he'll come out and he'll score a fucking hat trick or a brace, and he hasn't done yet. This half of the year since what do you call it? Since January. So I think he's due, and like I was saying, I believe that out of all the matches left, he matches up extremely well against Leicester. Arnautovic does. If he gets the service, which I think he will get, especially if they do start Antonio or Holland or whoever, and they have Anderson and Snodgrass and Noble and Rice, in the back line we already discussed earlier in the show. I really feel that he's going to get the service because their defense isn't as great as everybody thinks. Actually, a lot of people think that they're not really that great. It's their offense that's just brutal. I mean, they're super quick, super tricky, and they just attack. So they usually score a couple goals. But I don't know. I think that after watching the form that they had last week against Manchester United, we did. I feel that this is the week that we'll give up one goal because Fabianski cannot keep a clean sheet, save his life. And sorry guys. And what's it called? What's the other one?
Hammer of the year you're talking about. Yeah, I'm telling you, he'll take it hands down.
I don't understand how someone with who is in the bottom of the table in clean sheets can be hammered of the year, man. Anyway, I love you, but no. I mean, you're right. He'll end up getting it, but that's just not my vote. My vote would be Declan Rice or somebody because, again, like you said, he hasn't been injured yet all season long. He busts his ass every single game. That's a hammer. That's the guy, the Ian Dowie that we were talking about. That's the guy he wears West Ham on his sleeve, and he brushes all these fucking rumors about him leaving the side. That's a hammer of the year to me. But anyway, I feel that Arnautovic will get a brace. We'll score 3 goals. Probably, from another one from a set piece or something like that. I really do believe that we match up extremely well against Leicester, but they will nick one on us. And let's hope me and Kevin are right. Not John. I mean, I'd take a draw too at this stage of the game, but not a loss. Anyway, thank you so much, Kevin from the Columbus E13 for joining me today. He was our first guest, just so everybody knows. So he holds a special place in American Hammers TV's heart.
Wait,
and
Tim,
John Phillips.
Forgetting one important thing, dude.
What's that?
We're debuting our brand new claret carpet tomorrow.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, that's going to be the 11th.
Sorry.
You
know what, though? It's going to look awesome. It really is going to look cool. It's going to look nice. It is going to add a little bit of atmosphere. I mean, but again, the atmosphere that everybody wants is the seats closer to the pitch, unfortunately. So you're going to get all the diehards, especially over in England, that actually go to the matches. They're going to be pretty pissed about. They're not going to really want to, see the carpet. But everybody else, I mean, it's going to look great on TV,
Sure.
But and John Phillips, man, thank you so much, my brother, for from JPWHU TV. Check him out on all over social media, but especially YouTube. Head over to his channel, subscribe, click the notification bell, and please subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell too. Spread the word because I was going
to say one last thing. Go West Ham ladies.
Yep. Yeah, man. That's going to be Jesus, man. I should have thought of this beforehand.
Dude,
the West Ham ladies in the final.
Those girls are tough.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of infighting about who's actually going to the game because of
because
West
it's
Ham playing at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. But, they deserve our support. And if you're not going to be there, at least stream it and, show your support, because they've this is their first season, in this particular competition. And, they've done well, and they've done especially well in the cup. And they show the heart and desire that I wish the men's team did, on a regular basis.
Not forgetting as well that the Man City ladies have also won the WSL as well. So to get to the title leaders, I think they won it either last season or the year before. It came down to Chelsea and City ladies at one point. But it's a very, very good achievement. Bearing in mind, like you say, this is the first time they're in the Women's Super League, and to get to the FA Cup final is very impressive.
Awesome.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Just wanted to mention it. That's all.
No, definitely. We try to mention it every one of our regular episodes, but we oh God, this Leicester thing, this whole Man United thing. The Man United thing really just fucked us, man. It just really put a damper on everything, and I just hope the referees are on our side this week. That's another thing. I mean, at least we'll have a home match, and I don't know. I don't see them favoring Leicester, but I really believe that we'll get a win this week somehow, some way. And I think Arnautovic will, temporarily put a Band-Aid on all the fans who want him out. I think that this is going to be the week. So
on his birthday.
Come on, you Irons.